neurodivergent children. We have lots of parents that have children with diverse needs, and our guest today is an expert as a mother and as an author in this particular area. So she'll be giving you strategies and resources to help best support your children with neurodivergent needs. Hi, thank you so much for joining the Falling for Learning podcast. I am TD Blennaw. We have this podcast to help parents and caregivers with having the resources, strategies, and tools needed to make sure that their children are on track for learning and to stay on track for success. Our guest today is Dr. Myava Clark. She's a passionate advocate, educator, and best-selling author with a background in respiratory therapy and higher education. As a devoted mother of 2 adult children, her journey took a transformative turn while navigating the special education system for her son, Chris. This experience inspired her to co-found Collaborative Advancement for Social Emotional Needs, known as CASIN. With him, which empowers children ages 9 through 13, especially neurodivergent children, to stay safe online while developing healthy social emotional skills. Through her organization, CASIN, Dr. Clark also founded the Mothers of Exceptional Kids, MOEK. It's a parent support group community that helps parents and caregivers of neurodivergent children to find emotional support, avoid burning out, and guide their children toward friendships where they are celebrated. Dr. Clark blends personal stories with professional insight to offer hope and practical guidance. She continues to inspire others through storytelling, advocacy, and education. So please welcome Dr. Myava Clark to the Falling for Learning podcast.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today.
All right. So we always ask every person that comes on our show, what is that thing that made you fall in love with learning?
I think for me, it's just been innate. I don't ever remember not loving to learn, but I'm the baby or the youngest out of 5 children, and I'm the only girl. So I think it was something about being competitive, trying to keep up with the boys, that just always made me feel driven. And because I wanted to keep up, I always had to learn to hang with the guys. So I don't ever remember not wanting to try, and it just transitioned into school. And I always had to be in the front of the class. I hungered for learning.
All right. And so with your hunger for learning, how did that lead to, down your educational path as you grew up and you became Dr. Myava Clark?
Well, I grew up in the inner city. I'm from the southwest section of Philadelphia, which is an urban area, neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And as a child, I was always good in school. Math was my thing. And when I went to middle school, well, when you are the baby out of 5 children and you have 4 older brothers, you have one of 2 choices. You can either be the princess or the tomboy. And I was the tomboy. And so that means I was pretty scrappy when I was in elementary school.
Okay.
And when I went to middle school, I wanted to change the environment. I wanted to change the scenery, and I went to private school. Okay. I say that because that was an intentional decision, to not go along with more of the same. It was intentional, and that's where my educational journey really began. And then I went to the Franklin Learning Center High School, which was a magnet school for health sciences.
Okay.
And it put me on a track for Ally Health. And so those were intentional decisions that actually guided me. And for undergrad, I started out biology, pre-podiatry. I really thought I wanted to be a podiatrist, a foot doctor.
Okay.
But in the early 90s, they were flooded on the East Coast, and I was told that I would need to move out west or the Midwest in order to get a job. And I wasn't willing to do that. I didn't want to relocate that far. And so I took this all-out health course in undergrad. I went to Millersville University, and it was a one-credit course that all the different all-out health professions came in and spoke for an hour to see what you, and that's how I learned of respiratory. And so I went from pre-podiatry to respiratory, became a respiratory therapist. You have a question?
Oh, I was going to ask about, you said Allied Health, right? Allied Health, and they came in and taught you that. And you said Milledgeville College, that's your college?
Millersville.
Okay.
Like Millersville University was my undergrad. And with the Allied Health, it was fields like nursing, MRI techs, respiratory therapists, physical therapists, occupational therapists, all of the, the Allied Health medical subsidiary. And then I called and shadowed someone at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia just to see if it was something that I really could do. And I said, yes, I could. But I always knew it was a stepping stone. It wasn't something, like, I figured whether I went to med school, whether I decided to go to podiatry school later, or wherever I went, as long as I had my bachelor's, and I had my bachelor's in biology, I needed that regardless of what else I went to. And then I decided, I met my husband in undergrad. We were at, 18, 19 when we met.
Oh.
And when we dated all the way through school, and so that was like 5 years when we got engaged after 5 years. And we decided we didn't want to be too far from home, within 2 hours. And so I remember saying to him that I wanted to go back to school, and the only way I would marry him is if he agreed that I could go back to school, because I didn't want to sacrifice my family for my education, but I knew I wanted to pursue my education.
Right.
And fortunately, he agreed and didn't change his mind.
All right. Okay. I love that. So, that's something that, as kids are changing and getting older, we may want them to pursue their education. They might be trying to get married or whatever, but you're showing that you could just set that boundary and set that expectation. You don't have to give up one thing for the other. Yeah, if they're the right person for you. Love it.
Yeah, and I'm just glad that when he agreed, he didn't later say, no, you can't, because my education was so important to me.
Yeah.
And I knew that even then. And I chose, actually, my master's degree is elementary education.
Okay.
And the reason why I selected that, I thought that when we decided to have children, I would have my summers off and be home with the kids. But guess what? I didn't notice in real time, but I realized the reason why I chose elementary education really was a cop-out. I was afraid of teaching adults, because I was afraid that if I didn't know something and I was challenged, I would look stupid or silly. And so one of the things I tell people all the time, do not be held back by anyone, especially by yourself. Do not hold yourself back. And the first thing, when I realized that when I graduated, the first thing I did was started teaching adults.
Okay.
I never taught primary school, but I didn't know I was going to need it for my own children.
All right. Okay, that's true. A lot of us hold ourselves back. I would say, especially now during the current times, it's mostly us that holds ourselves back. We tell ourselves we can't do this, we're not able to do this, no one, we're not good enough, or whatever we tell ourselves. So yeah, amazing. Thank you for sharing that. So you got your doctoral degree, and can you tell us about that?
Yes. So after I received my master's, even before I went back to school for my master's, my mentor from undergrad, her name was Dr. Laverne Wissington, and she was my biology teacher. And Millersville is a predominantly white institution, and she was actually the only black biology professor, but I worked for her. She really took me under her wing. And I only bring up race because I really admired her. I could see she was someone who looked like me. And I just trusted her, and we just built a really good bond. And we stayed friends even beyond college. And I remember her telling me that she thought I would make a really good professor, and I needed to consider being a college professor. And she planted a seed, and
Yeah.
I was intimidated when she said it, but that seed just always was there, and it was just watered. And then that's what I did. I went back to school, and I have my PhD, and with a dual concentration. Actually, it's higher education and leadership and administration.
All
And
right.
because of that seed that was planted.
Yeah, representation matters, right? And sometimes when people look like you, they'll see things in you that you may not see in yourselves. And of course, people who have representation all the time, they're just naturally tapped to that to do different things, leadership roles, and to challenge themselves. But people who don't see themselves a lot, it's more like, well, that's not for me, and I'm not sure if I
Yeah.
could do it. And but when you have someone who looks like you, they know what you're capable of, and they will encourage you even when you may not see it in yourself, or you may not feel encouraged yourself. So that is something about representation that people really sometimes miss, right? Because other people may not look at you that way or notice that you need that type of support. The people who have, there's not much representation in that area, not many black people, they will see like you need encouragement, and you are able to do these things that maybe you feel intimidated by.
Okay. I actually, to that point, I want to bring something else up, and I'm glad you said that. Now, with Dr. Wissington, I just thought she was brilliant. And for this woman to believe in me, she believed in me when I didn't even have the same kind of belief in myself. That was powerful. But what's really interesting is I had a English professor who happened to be white, and we remained friends to the point she's my mother's age. I love her. I love both of them, but she was different because she didn't look like me, but the bond was equally as strong.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
And I just want to share this one story about her, to the point where she has dementia now, and I still go and visit her. And the I've been out of school now for 33 years, and I still keep in touch with her.
Wonderful.
And I just remember this one time, we went shopping. I was a college student. We went shopping, and we had an experience. We went to a store, and we were being followed in the store. And I just told her, I said, I was ready to go. I didn't want anything. And so we left.
Right.
And it was about like years later, at least 10 years later, She said, Myava, can I tell you something? And I said, sure, because we was just talking.
Right.
And she said, I never experienced racism until I was with you. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, do you remember? And of course I remembered the situation.
Yeah.
She said, do you remember when we went to a store and we were followed? I said, yes. She said, do you know I've been in that store 1,000,000 times and I've never been followed in the store.
Right.
And it wasn't until we were together that they followed me. And I said, do you remember what we did? And she said, no. She said, did you notice that? I said, of course I noticed it. How could I not notice it? And I said, do you know what we did, how I handled it? She said, no, what? I said, we left.
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
Yeah, I don't have to spend my money anywhere that you don't think my money is good enough for. And so I said, unfortunately, that's not the first time that has happened to me. I just don't spend my money there.
Right.
And so you just talking about the representation just reminded me, I had both experiences with two different professors that I was equally as close to, and they were, you know what I mean? I just wanted to share that.
Oh, yes, of course. And I have a second grade teacher that I have a Caucasian male teacher, my second grade teacher. Shout out to Mr. Bew. He is one of my supporters, of course, and he, my teacher that I still stay in contact with. I still like to call him Mr. Bew, but he wants me to call him George. But anyway, but yes. So let's go to talking about what you do now with neurodivergent children. We want to start with, for anyone out there who may not know what you mean or what you're saying when you're saying neurodivergent children, can you please define that and give us some examples? Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I support parents and caregivers of neurodivergent children by providing emotional support and practical tools without burnout while they guide their children toward meaningful friendships and protect them from being bullied. Neurodivergent, it's just an umbrella term for how the brain processes information, learns or behaves, which is considered different than what is normal or neurotypical.
Okay.
And some diagnoses that may fall under that umbrella term are like ADHD, autism, and dyslexia. Those are just some terms. It's really just how the brain thinks differently.
Wonderful. So, yes, again, if you have a child that has some of those challenges,
yes.
And she has, Dr. Clark has resources and strategies for it. She dealt with this. Her children, her just your son or your son and your daughter?
It's actually both uniquely different.
Okay.
So actually, this book right here, Help, Support for Parents of Children with Learning and Thinking Differences to Feel Confident, Capable, and Fulfilled, is based off of, my son is now 28, but it's based off of the first 25 years of his life.
Okay.
And his name is Chris, and he has two first cousins, one that's 3 months older than him and one that's 6 weeks older than him. So my brother has a child, my brother-in-law had a child, so the three of them were right there. And we noticed that some of the things they were doing, he wasn't able to either do or he wasn't able to do as well. Mm-hmm. And so we kept questioning, and everybody kept saying, oh, he's fine. Everybody works at their own pace. And
right.
He's fine. Everybody grows at their own pace. And then as time progressed, we kept saying, can everything be a coincidence? Is everything at its own pace? Mm-hmm. And so we wound up having him tested for early intervention. We went to the intermediate unit, and he was diagnosed with just some developmental delays. He wasn't diagnosed with autism or anything, but he had struggles. He needed physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy.
Okay.
So it was all the things. And what wound up happening, that master's degree that I had,
Yes.
with the tools that I learned, was used to help him close the education gap between him and his typically developing peers. So he did wind up getting an IEP in school, which is the individualized education program.
Did you ever feel like ashamed, or maybe you didn't want to get him an IEP or help, when you realized he had some challenges?
No, actually, my husband and I are the ones that pushed for it, because we saw that he was doing things a little differently than his two cousins.
Right.
And like, one of the things that I'm very strong on, and I tell parents, because I've run into people that are, I would say, probably more parents are the opposite of us, where they don't want to get their children tested.
Right.
And someone else is the one that's saying, I think something's wrong, or I think there's a gap, or I think you need to get your child tested, and the parent get defensive and like,
Yes.
no, not my child, not my child.
Yeah.
And what I say to parents like that is, what's the worst thing can happen if you have your child tested? The worst thing that can happen is they tell you nothing's wrong and your child don't need services, right? But what if your child does, and because of your insecurities, your embarrassment, shame, or whatever adjective fits that particular parent, whatever the fear is, and everybody's not the same, so it's not a one word that fits all. But because of whatever you have going on internally, you don't get your child tested, and you prolong the help that they need. The reality is, the sooner they get it, the potential of closing that gap is quicker, and then they may not need services ongoing.
Very true.
And so, like in my book Help, I had a co-worker who had a child that was going on 3, and her child wasn't talking and wasn't doing some other things, and the daycare kept saying she needed to have her tested.
Right.
And she was like, nothing's wrong with my child, I'm not going to. And she read Help. She told me she got to the 2nd chapter, put the book down, and made the call. And she thanked me, and she said reading the book made it feel like she was understood.
Okay.
Made her feel connected, like I was like just talking directly to her, because I wrote it from a parent perspective.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest compliment, because that's what I wanted. And then I had a friend whose husband's co-worker had a child, and they were in denial and was struggling with what was going on. And she bought the book for him and couldn't wait to call, and was like, he was so excited and felt so supported and everything. Support is a lot. Support means a lot.
The Rewrite Method and the Rewrite Method Workbook are your go-to resource for helping kids to learn to fall in love with writing. It has the tips, tools, resources, strategies, and skill-building activities to help kids fall out of writing hate and into loving to write. Get your book set today.
And
That makes a big difference. I do know I've had kids, and it just happened. I was a middle school teacher for a long time, and I had a one-on-one come in my class, and he was talking to one of my students, and I was not sure why, but we had a conversation. He said he had supported that child as a pre-K, right? That child no longer had any challenges, like nothing. He was just a quiet kid. He was performing in his work. But when you get support early, your child could exit out of the program depending on what their need. Every child is different, right? Absolutely. But getting them support early helps them, and this was a big middle school, over 2,000 kids in it. He was navigating by himself, doing his thing, right? He did not stand out. I just noticed that this one-on-one person who was helping another student was talking to that student, knew him, and I'm like, how do you know each other? And that's why he had worked in another setting in pre-K when the boy was in pre-K. Then he was in middle school, doing well, independent, didn't need any help because he got that early support. So sometimes we think that we are protecting our kids against labels and stuff like that, but they need specialized support sometimes, and it's okay. It doesn't mean that they are not valuable. You're not valuable as a parent. You have a problem. It's just what they need, and it's about getting them what they need.
And it's actually selfish on the parent part for us not to give our children what they need. Mm-hmm. Now, it's a whole nother thing talking about the medication and things like that. Right. I'm not here to tell you. That's between you and your doctor. You know, everybody's different. Yes. But I think that's a totally different subject, and you have to do what you need. And then we found out later, I told you my daughter was gifted, and she always had struggled because she dealt with migraines and different things. Mm-hmm. So, but she was tested in her 20s. She has ADHD, so she's twice exceptional. She's gifted, right? But she still had ADHD. So she said, "Mom, I wish I had been diagnosed when I was younger, mm-hmm. because I had to struggle. Yeah, even though I was doing well in school, I struggled." And she chose to be put on medication, and she said it helps her, and she wishes that she was diagnosed when she was younger, because she thinks that being on medication when she was in school might have helped her, and it could have helped her even with her concentration with the migraine. She has chronic migraines, mm-hmm. but maybe that added to it. We don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting because when students are given an IEP or individualized education plan, parents are consulted. They sign off on the IEP. So it's not just, this is what we're going to do. It's a team that works with you and the child to help meet their needs, rather than you at home trying to figure out what to do. And these people are specialized in this area to help your child. And of course, you could get other opinions if you need to, but it's not just we have an IEP, so now we're going to do this, this, and this, and you have to agree. It's not that. And so I don't know if that's what some people are worried about, like people are going to now make me do this and make me do this with my child. But it really is a team that works to meet the needs of your child. And you work together and negotiate and talk about what you think might work and how it works with you. You give them input and information. But it also holds them accountable for providing services for your child as well.
Absolutely. And to that point, that's something I share with parents. If you think, because some people think the school is out to get them, yes, or they just want the money, they want to label my child. Yes. If you feel that strongly, get an independent person to do the evaluation, and then go from there. You're allowed, rather than deny your child, you can hire someone to do it and get an independent third party. And then in certain states, you may not even have to pay and still get a third party. So I don't know which of the laws are in your area,
Yeah.
but that would be important to do as well.
Yes, in I don't know if it's just throughout California, they have something called a regional center, and that's where I do find some parents that get the IEP from the regional center before they go to the school. So again, I don't know all the ins and outs about it, but it's not. I know it's a free service that they offer, and they do provide resources, wraparound services, counseling. They'll help the kids find jobs when they get older. They do a lot, but you can get assessed in that place as well. Our school district here in Los Angeles does not accept the IEP. They do their own IEP, but at least there you have two different sides to it. And again, you could move your child to another school if you don't like what they're saying, or if you exhaust your exhaust your different choices about what you want to do and how to work with the people. So it's not just where people tell you what to do. It's you navigating it, working together as a team, collaborating.
Can I say one final thing about the book?
Yes.
I don't know if you can see.
Not well. Put it up higher. A glossary. Okay.
Okay. So in this book, anything that I had to define, anything I wasn't sure that someone would know, I looked it up and told as I went. Remember, it's a support. It's a guide, right?
Yes.
So in that glossary, every term that I defined is in that glossary, and the parents can go to my website and print it out. They can take that with them to an IEP meeting, and if they don't have an advocate or someone sitting with them and they're not sure of something, they can look through that glossary and look it up and then ask questions. So it will help empower them with the confidence to speak up, because sometimes you don't know what to ask. It's not even that parents wouldn't ask. They may not know what to ask.
Yeah.
And reading the book, I will maybe stimulate some thoughts and questions that they can go and ask the administration, the educators, and feel supported. And so this book deals with all of our experiences. One of the things I really love about this book and what I've done, a parent doesn't have, or a caregiver doesn't have to read it from cover to cover. They can go from chapter to chapter and pick and pull what they need. So there's a chapter on developmental milestones, where typically developing kids are, and you can compare what your child is going through to see how it lines up with what's considered typical for that age in the development. There's one on early intervention, the IEP, and the 504 plan. My daughter later developed chronic illness.
Okay.
She was gifted in advanced placement courses, but she had medical challenges. So we actually was at both ends of the spectrum for special education. One, because my son struggled, and my daughter was advanced, but she had medical challenges.
Right.
So that's what qualifies me to speak on the whole thing, because it's lived experience.
Right.
And then as an educator, so this book is written really from a parent perspective. Like, most people don't know what a developmental pediatrician is. They may only know of a pediatrician.
Right.
Right? The difference is a regular pediatrician just deals with the medical growth and, if your child is sick or well, A developmental pediatrician is a pediatrician that determines whether your child hits the milestones and mile markers. I wouldn't have known that until we had to go through it.
Right.
And so I wrote a chapter about that so parents could know the difference with that. Coping with anxiety. My son dealt with anxiety and bouts of depression at times once he got on social media. There's a chapter on social cues. sibling issues, bullying, and then my husband and I, like, weren't always in alignment with everything. And when we went to the meetings at school, we noticed they would try to divide and conquer. You know, they knew I was an educator, so they wanted me to side with them. And believe it or not, a lot of times I did, but they never knew it because we never disagreed in those meetings. We would get all our facts, get all the information, and go home and talk. Sometimes I was like, man, this would be good, this would be whatever, but I never let them see it.
That's interesting. Yeah, so there's a lot of little strategies, a lot of great things. And again, we're going to put this in the show notes so that you will have access to her book. She did write 7 books, so she's focusing here on help. Can you tell us about the organization that you started for your son?
Thank you. So the backstory, when my son was about 14, he wanted to go on Facebook. I told you he was a little immature. He was emotionally, he was probably 12. And we told him we didn't think he was ready for social media. He really wanted to do it. We said, you're not ready. He snuck behind our backs and did it anyway.
Yeah.
But the first person he requested was me. So that just shows he wasn't savvy enough to be on there, because I was the first friend he requested. And that's what we did. We laughed, and we didn't tell him to take it down. My husband and I were his friends. My husband's friends became his friends. And we knew he wasn't ready. He wasn't. He befriended, he had over 5,000 friends. He befriended all these people he didn't know. Right. A lot of them were adults. He experienced bullying online. Yeah. Where during the 2012 election, he was called the N-word for his political views. That caused him to start having anxiety, again, which led to some depression. But my husband and his friends, they did what we call policed his account, told him what to take down, how to block people, really taught him that. So when he graduated from high school, his freshman year in college, my husband asked him, what do you wish you did in school or had in school that you didn't have that could help kids today? And he said, I really wish someone would have taught me how to be appropriate on social media. And he said, I want to be that someone for kids who may not have had the village that I had. And he said, I want to teach them how to be appropriate on social media so they don't have the pitfalls and things. And so then they came to me and asked me if I would help them. And when I tell you, he wanted to develop this app. And I said, yes. I had no idea. I'm a respiratory therapist. I'm a college professor. I'm a respiratory therapist. I'm not a tech person at all. But when he asked me and I said yes, I prayed about it. And I asked God to help me. I said, direct me. And I said, what is missing in education? Because I needed to focus on something in education to tie it together. And I Googled and I found social emotional learning, that there was a gap. And so what we did, we developed Casein, Collaborative Advancement for Social and Emotional Needs. And it's where education meets social media. And so I literally prayed and sat at a computer and asked God for direction. And I found a third-party site that helped me create an app. Right? And so after we created it, we went to the school district and we met with the superintendent of special ed. And because we figured it would be like a learning management system for kids with special needs. Right. You know, like the teacher could use it. And so she told us what she thought went well with it. She told us what we could do better. And we did that 3 separate times until we outgrew that platform. And then we hired app developers to help us create this what we have today.
Wow, that is really impressive. So again, we could access that information on. You're going to give that to us too, so we could put it in the
Absolutely.
show notes. Okay,
Absolutely.
wonderful.
Can I just say what that is? That's
Mm-hmm.
It's Casein Connect, and I'm so proud of this. It's really anti-bullying. Every day the child gets some bullying information, like one or two sentences. The next day, that information goes away and new information appears, and they get a question of the day to test their recall for what they had the day before to make sure that they're really learning.
Okay.
Then, as a college professor, I'm a program director for a Bachelor of Science in Respiratory Therapy program, and I mimic what we do with our college students into this platform. And they have to do discussion board questions where they interact with their peers.
Mm-hmm.
So each day there's a question. For example, it's one of the different types of bullying, which are verbal, physical, cyberbullying, or social bullying. It's something with that, or the digital footprint, or something like that, just to teach them what bullying is,
Mm-hmm.
how to identify if they're being bullied, if they're witnessing bullying, or and so they have those questions that they answer, and that's when they interact with each other. But as a safeguard, nothing is visible to another student until the teacher approves it. So
Nice.
it's all these checks and balances to
Mm-hmm.
really protect the children. And you won't be able to Google it and find it online. You can go to my website and get the information and contact us. It's by invitation only, because we don't want kids to be victimized. And there's a group I want you guys to Google or search YouTube. It's called 764, and they're calling it the modern day terrorism. That is a group of adults that are targeting our children and victimizing our children, and they're having kids send nude pictures of themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing sextortion with the parents. And if you did, it's this one little guy. It was on Good Morning America in November, and it's on YouTube. But he committed suicide, and they watched him
Yeah.
commit suicide. So what we're trying to do is get to the babies before they even go online, to build them up, to show them what
Yeah.
to look out for, to build
Mm-hmm.
their confidence, and to give them the skills. Social media is not going anywhere. You can't avoid it, but we
Right.
want to teach them to be appropriate.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing that to the forefront. I mean, I have heard about that, and I didn't know what the name of the organization. I mean, not the org that this, because yeah, we think that our children are watching something, um, okay, and it might be cartoons or animation, but actually it is something that is actually very problematic. Or again, it could change. You might flick something, it goes to something else, and this ad comes
Mm-hmm.
on, they click on something. So we really do need to be vigilant, and this is one strategy for doing that, is using your network. So it's the Casein connection, is that what it's called?
Casein Connect.
Canase. Okay.
CONNECT.
Casein Connect. So really important for us to use strategies to help build our kids up, because we know people out there are, for whatever reason, who knows what's going on, looking to tear kids down, tear people down. Doesn't have to be a kid, but our kids, of
Mm-hmm.
course, are especially vulnerable. Can you tell us about your other organization? HO
MOEK.
MOEK. Okay, yes, tell us.
MOEK, Mothers of Exceptional Kids.
Yes.
And that really stemmed through Casein, because everything we were doing was protecting our children and giving information and tools for the kids. But what I realized, the parents and caregivers needed support too.
Mm.
And, I have a husband who helped me navigate this space, and it was still challenging. and it was still lonely at times. And, my parents and my family, they are loving and supportive, but they can champion us and cheer us on or pray for us, but they couldn't reach back and pull us because they hadn't experienced it. And so sometimes I felt like people didn't understand or didn't relate to what I was going through.
Yeah.
And I never want another family to feel that way. And so I created the support group, and we have meetings every first Tuesday of the month at 8 p.m. Eastern via Zoom. And it's free, just so people can find community and find support.
Okay. All right. That's amazing. So having support specific for kids, and then having support specifically for the parents and caregivers. And that is something that sometimes people forget about. The people who are the caregivers need the care, need the rest, need the support. And sometimes, they don't have it. They don't have a place to look around. And they may not, like you were talking about with your family, you may have family that doesn't understand. They don't have the same needs. They might listen, but they can't really relate, and so of course they don't really know how to help. So this is so amazing. We're so glad that you came on our show to share all of the resources that you have curated and created, and the leadership that you have in this space for parents and caregivers, as well as the neurodivergent kids themselves. Is there anything that you want to say, like parting words, anything for the audience?
Yes. So we started off for children 9 to 13. But as we did focus groups, we were told that kids are really getting started online younger. So what we've done is we created the same content for the skill level of the 6 to 8. So we have 6 to 8 and 9 to 13 that we support, and they can go to Casein Connect .com and learn about that, and then reach out. I am getting ready to do a focus group where I'm looking for 10 children that and families that won't have to pay, but they just would need to agree to complete. It's a 5-week course to just do the 5 weeks and do a video testimonial in exchange for the content and the support and the learning. And everything we teach the children, we teach the parents and caregivers so they can further the conversation. We believe we're just the beginning, we're not the end, and we don't replace parents. We support parents and caregivers. So we have that. That's Casein Connect.com. And then they can download my free ebook, 5 Secrets to Emotionally Support Your Children with Learning Differences Without Burning Out, by going to mothersofexceptionalkids.com, and they can get that free ebook, free resource. I have other free things. Please feel free to contact me. I want to share one more thing. This book is The Parent and Caregiver's Guide, Overcoming the Odds of Disabilities.
Can you hold it up a little bit? Yeah. Go ahead and tell us the title again.
The Parent and Caregiver's Guide, Overcoming the Odds of Disabilities, Medical Challenges, Mental Health Disorders, and Trauma. This book is a book collaboration I did. Again, I'm just the beginning. And that book has 12 co-authors with me. 6 of them are other parents sharing their stories about their children like I did. And 6 of them are professionals answering the same questions. It's full of resources. Again, everything I do is a tool guide to help support parents. It's important to me. I never want anyone to feel alone on their journey. So we're here to support.
Excellent. Thank you so much again for joining us. Parents and caregivers out there, please do something today that gives your child the competitive advantage. Thanks again. See you next time on the Falling for Learning podcast.
Thanks again for supporting the Falling for Learning podcast. New episodes go live every Saturday at 5 p.m. You can watch us on youtube.com at Falling for Learning, or listen on all major podcast platforms such as Apple, Google, Audible, Spotify, and much more. For more resources, visit fallinginlovewithlearning.com. We really appreciate you. Have a wonderful week.